my wife and her kids said I was just a trucker, so I cut them off, took back everything, and what happened next no one saw coming. When they mocked me as a mere trucker, I revealed I owned their lavish lives and took it all back in a blaze of betrayal and power. Stay with me for a heart-pounding saga of deception, defiance, and a comeback that will grip you to the end. I'm 47 male and have been driving trucks since I was 25. I started with nothing but a CDL and a dream of owning my own rig someday. I worked my butt off, lived in that truck, and saved every penny until I could buy my own Mac. I was doing pretty well, too. Had my own route, regular customers, and even started building decent savings. No wife, no kids, just me and my dog, living the dream on the open road. I wasn't exactly killing it, but I had my act together, you know. I owned my truck outright, had a small apartment I barely used, and enough extra cash to treat myself to a good steak dinner when I felt like it. Not bad for a guy who grew up in a trailer park with nothing. It was 2017 and I was at Walmart buying food for my German Shepherd, Rex, on a normal Wednesday afternoon. Nothing special. Rex was this big goofball I'd rescued a year before, the best decision I ever made. But that's pretty much the only good decision in this story. So, I'm there comparing prices on dog food. It's expensive, right? When this kid literally slams into my legs at full speed. I mean, this little dude was booking it. Rex, being the gentle giant he is, just starts wagging his tail like crazy. This kid Caleb was about 6 or 7, all energy and no brakes. You know the type. He's wearing this Avengers t-shirt that has seen better days and has a toy plane clutched in his hand that he apparently thought could outrun my dog. Behind him comes this woman looking absolutely done with life, pushing a stroller with a baby in it. That was Lydia and little Emma. Lydia looked like one of those moms you see in movies who's trying to hold it together but is one spilled sippy cup away from losing it. Dark circles under her eyes, messy bun, the whole deal. I help Caleb up. The kid is still giggling because Rex is giving him the world's sloppiest kisses, and Lydia starts apologizing like crazy. I'm so sorry, he's just so hyper today. Caleb apologized to the nice man and so on. He's always like this, she sighed, her voice heavy with exhaustion. But I'm just laughing because honestly it was the most excitement I had all week. Being a trucker means a lot of lonely hours on the road. So random kid attacks are actually a nice change of pace. Turns out they were there because Caleb was begging for a pet turtle. Hell no. Lydia and Emma needed to look at the fish to nap. We got to talking. You know how it goes, making small talk while a hyperactive kid tries to convince your dog to be his new best friend. That's when I noticed her Army Widow pin on her purse. I didn't say anything about it at first, but man, it explained a lot. I found out later her husband David died in Syria about a year before. A real hero type, Purple Heart, the whole deal. He left behind a 6-year-old boy who could barely remember him and a baby girl who'd never know him. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I didn't notice Lydia was pretty. She was. But that's not what got me. It was watching her try so damn hard to keep it together. Like when Caleb asked if the turtle could sleep in Daddy's old room and her voice cracked just a tiny bit when she said no. Or how she was counting out exact change for dog treats because you could tell money was tight. Rex sealed the deal. Honestly, this dog, who usually takes forever to warm up to people, was letting Caleb climb all over him like a jungle gym. Even little Emma in her stroller was giggling every time Rex would gently lick her hand. Lydia joked that it was the first time she'd seen Emma smile at a stranger in weeks. He's got a gift, she said, her eyes softening for a moment. I did something stupid then, offered to let them walk Rex with me around the store, while we looked at pets they definitely weren't getting. Lydia was firm on the no turtle rule, and honestly, good call. Caleb was over the moon, holding Rex's leash with me right there, obviously, and Lydia actually relaxed a little. We ended up exchanging numbers for doggy play dates, she said, half joking, but I think we both knew what was up. Looking back now, sitting in my truck with Rex's gray muzzle on my lap, I wonder if he knew. That dog was always smarter than me. He loved those kids right away, but every time Lydia came around, he'd get this look. Not growling, nothing aggressive, just watchful. I should have paid more attention to that, but you know what they say about hindsight being 20/20 and all that. I guess your dog can't protect you from your own stupid decisions, even if he tries. Anyway, those first few months after meeting Lydia were, man, I don't even know how to describe them. It started with those doggy playdates we talked about. I'd bring Rex to this little park near their apartment complex, and Caleb would literally vibrate with excitement every time he saw us pull up in my truck. The kid loved that truck, by the way, thought it was the coolest thing ever that I drove a beast truck. It's just a regular Mack, but try telling that to a 6-year-old. I started adjusting my routes to be home more. Any trucker reading this knows that's basically throwing money away, but there I was turning down good long-haul jobs to take local routes so I could be around for stuff like Caleb's soccer games and Emma's doctor appointments. Lydia was struggling badly with money, never asked directly for help, but you could see it. The apartment was always freezing in winter because she was saving on heat. The kids were wearing clothes that were a bit too small. One time I noticed Caleb's shoes were literally held together with duct tape. So yeah, I stepped in. What else was I going to do? I bought Caleb new shoes. The kid cried when I got him light-up sneakers. It broke my heart. "You're like a superhero," he shouted, hugging me tight. I started accidentally bringing over extra groceries, that kind of thing. Lydia tried to refuse at first, but you try saying no when your kid's jumping around in his first new shoes in months. It got serious pretty quick after that. I started staying over more and more. Rex loved it. The dog had 2 kids to play with and a bigger space to roam. I'd come back from shorter runs and they'd all be there waiting. Even Emma started warming up to me, went from crying whenever I got near her to demanding bedtime stories. The first time Caleb called me Dad, I was under my truck doing maintenance. The kid was watching me work, handing me tools, wrong ones usually, but hey, he was trying. He dropped a wrench on my finger and swore. He giggled and said, "Dad, you said a bad word, just casual," like he'd been calling me that forever. I played it cool, but man, inside I was a mess. A good mess, you know. I went out that weekend and bought one of those world's best dad mugs. Dumb, right? I still have it in my truck. Can't bring myself to throw it out. Lydia and I got married about a year after meeting. Nothing fancy, a courthouse wedding because I had a delivery that afternoon. She didn't want a big thing anyway, said her first wedding had been enough of a production. But I was too busy playing Superman to notice. We got a bigger place, a nice house with a yard for Rex and the kids. I started a college fund for both kids. Separate accounts under my name, thank God. I worked my butt off to provide everything they needed and most of what they wanted. You know what's funny? Other truckers used to give me grief about being whipped, missing out on the good routes, rushing home for dance recitals and parent-teacher conferences. But I was proud of it. Proud that Emma would FaceTime me to show off her art projects. Proud that Caleb wanted me to teach him about engines. Proud when other parents at school events would say what a great dad I was. Rex was living his best life too, had his own spot on the couch that Lydia hated but tolerated. Followed the kids everywhere, even had playdates with the neighbors' dogs. But he never quite warmed up to Lydia. Wouldn't growl or anything, just kept his distance. Wouldn't take treats from her, wouldn't cuddle with her like he did with the kids. He doesn't trust you, I thought, but ignored the warning. I should have paid more attention to that. I started noticing little things about Lydia too. How she'd introduce me as the kid's stepdad instead of her husband. How she kept a picture of David, her late husband, on her nightstand but wouldn't put up any photos of our wedding. How she'd talk about David to anyone who'd listen. Brave army hero, perfect father, but would change the subject if anyone asked what I did for work. "You're not him," she once said, coldly, her words cutting deep. But hey, the kids seemed happy, the house was paid for, and I had what I thought was a family. Rex had his humans. I had my ready-made family. Life was good. Now remember how I said Caleb was this sweet kid who thought my truck was the coolest thing ever? Yeah. Well, teenagers are a whole different ball game. When he hits 15, it's like something flipped. The first time I noticed something was really wrong was when I got back from a 2-day run. I'd busted my ass to make it home for his track meet, even turned down a better-paying route to be there. I walk in the door, Rex running to greet me like always, and I hear Caleb talking to his friends in the kitchen. Now, my real dad was an Army Ranger with a Purple Heart and everything. This guy's just my mom's husband. "You're nothing to me," he added, his voice dripping with disdain. I felt like someone slapped me in the face. This was the same kid who used to beg me to take him to the truck yard, who'd sit in my rig for hours while I taught him about engines. Now, suddenly, I'm just my mom's husband. But it got worse. Emma, 12 by then, started copying everything her brother did. Eye rolls, heavy sighs. Whenever I walk into a room, it works. One time I asked her to clean up her mess in the kitchen. You'd think I'd asked her to donate a kidney or something. Why should I? You're not my real dad. You don't belong here, she snapped, her eyes cold. There it was, that phrase. I started hearing it more and more. Every time I tried to set any kind of rules or boundaries. You're not my real dad. Every time I tried to help with homework or give advice, you're not my real dad. I started to feel like it was their new favorite song or something. And Lydia, she just checked out, always on her phone, always too busy to deal with it. One time I actually heard her on the phone with her friend laughing about how the kids were just going through a phase and how they obviously missed their real father. They'll never see you as him, she said, not caring I overheard. Real father? They don't even remember him, like I hadn't been the one there for everything for the past 6 years. The worst part? I started noticing how Lydia would talk about me to her friends. Oh, he's on the road a lot, or he drives trucks. Always said in this apologetic tone like she was embarrassed. Meanwhile, she'd talk about David, her dead husband, like he hung the moon. David was a war hero, and David would have wanted this and that. It even started affecting my relationship with Rex. He used to sleep in the kids' room sometimes. They'd fight over who got him each night. Now they'd push him away, saying their friends were coming over and they didn't want dog hair everywhere. The only time they paid attention to him was when they needed something from me. Amazing how they'd suddenly become dog lovers when they wanted money or favors. But then I started finding out about all these family things I wasn't invited to. Lydia's family reunions, school events, even just dinners out. They'd wait until I was on a run and go do family stuff without me. I'd see the pictures on Lydia's Instagram later, them all smiling, having fun, being a real family while I was out earning the money that paid for it all. One night I confronted Lydia about it. She just looked at me with this pity like I was some dumb truck driver who didn't understand how things worked. They're teenagers, they need space, and you're gone so much anyway. You're not their father, she said flatly, her words a final blow. Yeah. Gone busting my ass to pay for their private school, their phones, their cars, because apparently my truck wasn't good enough for them to be seen anymore. Gone working extra routes to afford the lifestyle they'd gotten used to. It was like watching something rot from the inside out. On the surface, everything looked fine. Nice house, nice cars, kids in good schools. But underneath, it was all going to hell. Rex knew. He'd started doing this thing where he'd put his head on my lap whenever I was home, just staring at me with those knowing dog eyes like he was trying to tell me something. But I wasn't ready to listen yet. Then, things went from bad to worse. My tools started going missing from the garage, not just misplaced, straight up gone. Caleb used to help me maintain my truck, knew exactly which tools I needed most. Funny how those were always the ones that disappeared. Then my truck started having issues. Nothing major at first. A scratch here, a dent there. Could have been anything, right? But then one morning I came out to find my fuel tank cap unscrewed. Not loose, completely unscrewed and sitting on top. Anyone who knows trucks knows how dangerous that could have been if I hadn't caught it. So I installed a security camera in the yard. Guess what I saw on the footage? Our precious boy Caleb at 3:00 in the morning messing with my truck. When I showed Lydia the video, you know what she said? Well, maybe if you were home more, he wouldn't act out like this. You're the problem, not him, she accused, her voice sharp. Yeah. That's when I started keeping receipts for everything, every repair, every replacement tool, every single thing I paid for. My lawyer says that turned out to be the smartest thing I could have done. But here's where it really went sideways. Emma, my little girl who used to beg for bedtime stories, started dating this college guy, Tyler, a real piece of work, trust fund baby type who drove a Maserati his daddy bought him. I didn't think much of it at first. It's not my business who she dates, right? Then, I noticed she's not wearing the necklace I got her for her 14th birthday anymore. The one she swore she'd never take off. Found out later she told her friends it was embarrassing because it came from a gas station. It was from Tiffany's, by the way. I worked overtime for 3 months to afford it. One night, I'm at home between routes and I hear Emma and Lydia talking in the kitchen. Emma's going on about how Tyler's family has this big Easter party coming up, a really fancy affair. "Mom, what do I tell them about Dad?" My ears perk up, thinking maybe, just maybe, she's worried about explaining her stepdad's job. Nope. Just tell them what I always do, honey, that your father was an Army Ranger who died serving his country. They didn't even lower their voices. Didn't care if I heard. I was sitting right there in the living room with Rex, and they just acted like I didn't exist. Rex growled. The first time I'd ever heard him growl at family. Livia jumped, tried to play it off with a laugh. Oh, that dog's getting so moody in his old age. It sees through you, I thought, my heart sinking. Nah, Lydia. Rex just finally stopped pretending. Same as me, but the final straw was when I found out they had a whole Labor Day dinner while I was on a run. Not just them. Lydia's whole family, some of the kids' friends, even a few neighbors. I saw the pictures on Instagram. They set up in my backyard, used my grill that I hadn't been allowed to use in weeks because the smoke bothers Emma's allergies, and acted like one big happy family. The caption under the photo said, "So thankful for the family, missing David extra hard today." I was out there driving through a rainstorm to deliver emergency supplies, missing my family and their playing house, pretending I don't exist. I had enough. That night, sleeping in my truck with Rex, I didn't even bother going inside. When I got home, I started making plans. Called my buddy Vince, who's a lawyer, started gathering documents, took screenshots of everything, but I still wasn't ready to pull the trigger. I still thought maybe there was something worth saving. What an idiot I was. But you know what's funny about life? Just when you think things can't get more screwed up, the universe finds a way to prove you wrong. That day started normally enough, just finishing up a long haul from Arizona, looking forward to surprising Emma for her 21st birthday. I didn't know I was the one in for a surprise. I was pushing through because Emma's birthday was coming up, and even though things were bad, I still wanted to be there. I had this whole thing planned, was going to surprise her with a Tiffany's bracelet I'd been saving up for weeks to buy. I got home early for once, around 6:00 in the evening. The sun is still up. I see all these cars parked around our house, nice ones. Teslas, Bentleys, that kind. I figured maybe Lydia was having one of her fancy friend gatherings she never invited me to. Rex starts acting weird the moment we pull up. Normally he's excited to get home, but this time he's just tense. I should have listened to him right then and there. I go around back, because that's where all the noise is coming from, and there it is, a full-blown party in my backyard. Catering, fancy dresses, the works. Right in the middle of it all is Emma, holding hands with Trust Fund Tyler. It was a whole engagement party that they didn't tell me about. But here's the thing that really got me. I'm standing there, gift box in my hand, and I hear this old lady, Tyler's grandmother I'd found out later, asking about Emma's family. "Oh, what does your father do, dear?" Now I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, after all these years, Emma might acknowledge me. Even my stepdad's a truck driver would have been something. Emma, wearing this fancy designer dress that I know Lydia couldn't afford, looks this old lady right in the eye and says, "My father was an Army Ranger. He died in Syria when I was a baby. He was a hero." Lydia standing right there, nodding along, proud as can be, and then she adds, "David would be so proud of the woman Emma's become. He always wanted her to marry well." You're nothing to us, I thought. Their words a betrayal that burned. Marry well. Like being a working man who provided for their family for 13 years wasn't well enough. Then Tyler's dad starts talking about the wedding plans, big church wedding, golf club reception, all that fancy stuff. Then he says something about father of the bride traditions. Emma doesn't even hesitate. "Oh, my Uncle Greg, Lydia's brother, will be standing in for my dad. He was my dad's best friend in the Army." Greg, who I've literally never seen, contributes a damn thing to Emma's life except showing up drunk to Easter and telling war stories about David. I must have made some kind of noise because Rex lets out this low whine. That's when they finally notice me standing there. The look on Emma's face. Not shame, not guilt, just annoyance, like I'd ruined her perfect moment by existing. Lydia tries to play it off. "Oh, Wyatt, you're home early. We were just—" "You didn't want me here," I said, my voice low but sharp. But I'm not listening anymore. I'm looking at my house, my backyard, the party being paid for with my money. Found out later Lydia used my credit card for the catering, celebrating my daughter's engagement, and I'm not even supposed to exist. The bracelet box feels like it weighs 2,000 lbs in my hand. Rex is pressed against my leg, doing that thing where he's trying to protect me, but also comfort me at the same time. Tyler's mom, trying to be polite I guess, asks who I am. Before anyone can answer, I just turn around and walk away, get in my truck. Rex jumps in and we leave. I spent the night at a truck stop about 75 mi away, just sitting there with Rex, both of us staring at nothing. That night, I called Vince, my lawyer buddy, and told him, "It's time." He just said, "Finally. I've had the papers ready for weeks." I spent that whole night in my truck with Rex, going through old photos on my phone, pictures of Caleb's first soccer game, Emma's dance recital, all that family stuff I thought we had. It's a business. Contracts, accounts, assets, the whole 9 yards. And while Lydia and the kids were busy looking down their noses at the simple trucker, I was running that business like a goddamn CEO. That house they were living in my name. The cars they drove, my name. The credit cards Lydia used to pay for that fancy engagement party, all in my name. Even the utilities were under my company's name, because of some tax thing Vince set up years ago. But I played it cool. Kept driving my routes, kept paying the bills, kept acting like nothing was wrong. I even sat through dinner one night where Emma and Lydia were talking about wedding venues that cost more than my first truck. I just nodded along, playing the dumb trucker they thought I was. Meanwhile, Vince and I went through everything: bank statements, property titles, credit card bills, all of it. Found some interesting stuff too, like how Lydia had been writing checks to her brother Greg, you know, the stand-in dad from my business account, or how Caleb had been using my credit card to buy parts for his car that somehow ended up on his friend's ride. The best part, Lydia never signed any prenup, but she also never put her name on anything important. She thought not taking my last name meant she was keeping her independence or something. It actually meant she had no legal claim to my assets. Vince laughed his ass off when he realized that. You know what really gets me, though? While all this is going down, they're still acting like I'm the bad guy. Caleb's still messing with my truck. Caught him on camera again, trying to sugar the gas tank this time. Emma's still playing the poor fatherless bride card to Tyler's family. And Lydia is still running her mouth to anyone who listens about how her first husband was such a hero. One night I'm sitting in my study doing paperwork, running my own fleet now, got 3 other drivers working for me, and I hear them in the kitchen. They're laughing about something, and Lydia goes, "Well, at least the wedding will be paid for. It's not like he knows how to hide money. He's just a trucker." "You're a fool, Wyatt." She laughed, her voice dripping with contempt. Rex, who'd basically moved into my study with me at this point, looks up at me like, "You hearing this, Dad?" I just patted his head and kept working on transfer paperwork with Vince. What they didn't know is that I'd been moving money around for weeks legally, all above board. Vince made sure of that, but strategically setting up new accounts, redirecting business income, canceling credit cards, and creating new ones they didn't know about. I even started a whole new LLC for my growing fleet. The day everything was ready, I took Rex for a long walk. I had to think about what I was about to do. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about taking back what was mine. My dignity, my self-respect, my life. You know what finally convinced me? I saw Emma showing off her engagement ring to her friends in the backyard. A big, fancy thing that probably costs more than most people make in a month. She's going on about how she's finally going to have a real family once she marries Tyler. "You're nothing to me," she said to her friends, not knowing I overheard. That night, I made one last call to Vince. Do it. The plan we'd spent weeks putting together was finally going into motion. Let me tell you something about patience. Have you ever watched one of those nature documentaries where a predator just waits, patiently, letting their prey think everything's fine until the perfect moment to strike? That was me. That Friday morning, I told Lydia I was heading out for a 2-day run the night before. She probably thought I was off being a good little trucker, earning more money for precious Emma's wedding. Hell, Caleb was probably already planning what part of my rig to screw with next. What they didn't know was I was parked just an hour away at my buddy's yard, watching everything unfold through the security cameras I'd installed. And boy, what a show it was. The lawyer, Vince, timed everything perfectly. The courier showed up right as Lydia was having her morning coffee. 5 thick envelopes, each one a different kind of hell. You should have seen her face when she opened that first package. Divorce papers. But not just any divorce papers. We're talking a whole goddamn manuscript of their mess. Security footage of Caleb's little vandalism hobby. Bank statements showing Lydia treating my business account like her personal piggy bank. Screenshots of Emma talking trash about me online while flashing the designer crap I paid for, all of it documented and notarized. Then came the eviction notice. Lydia always acted so high and mighty about keeping her independence, not taking my last name. She never once bothered to check if her name was on the house deed, though. Funny how that works out. But the cherry on top, that 5th envelope. Watching her face as she realized every credit card was canceled, every joint account closed, every asset transferred, all perfectly legal, all documented, all gone. It was like watching someone realize they'd been playing poker with a marked deck and they'd just lost everything. The meltdown was biblical. First came Lydia's calls, screaming about the wedding in the house and how I couldn't do this to them. Then Caleb tried to act tough about the credit cards like he had any right to them after what he did to my truck. Finally, Emma real waterworks about her special day being ruined. How Tyler's family would think they're trash. Not one word about the years I spent being her dad. Not one I'm sorry in sight. You destroyed us, Lydia screamed over the phone, her voice breaking. Elise tried running to her fancy lawyer friends, but it turns out they're not so friendly when they realize their client doesn't have a legal leg to stand on. No joint accounts, no joint property, not even a claim to that overpriced furniture she loved to show off to her friends. All bought with business accounts, all mine. Then Lydia's brother Greg shows up, probably thinking he's going to play a tough guy. Remember Greg, the stand-in dad for Emma's wedding? Yeah. He wasn't so tough when my lawyer's associate served him with a cease and desist and a restraining order. Turns out threatening someone who keeps receipts isn't such a smart move. By sunset, Lydia is crying to anyone who listens. Emma's playing victim on social media and Caleb's still making threats about my truck. Thanks for the written evidence, genius. But here's the best part. I made sure everyone knew why. Vince helped me put together a nice little information package for all their fancy friends, Tyler's family. Everything laid out nice and neat. The vandalism, the theft, the lies about being a grieving military family while living off my work. I even threw in some choice recordings of them mocking my job. Tyler's family, old money types, real proper, didn't take too kindly to finding out their future in-laws were a bunch of grifters. That fancy golf club wedding suddenly got called off. The next few days I got hundreds of messages, threats, begging, guilt trips, you name it. I didn't answer a single one. Just sat in my truck with Rex, watching karma do its thing through my phone screen. I drove by the house a month later, moving trucks in the driveway. Guess reality's a shock when it finally shows up, now sitting here by the lake where Rex and I used to take the kids fishing. Rex is sprawling out in the grass next to my chair, probably dreaming about chasing rabbits or stealing my breakfast sandwich like he did this morning. It's been 2 years since everything went down, and sometimes I still can't believe how much has changed. Funny thing about hitting rock bottom. Once you start climbing back up, you realize maybe you needed the fall to appreciate the view. Take my business, for example. Remember those 3 drivers I mentioned? Now there's 10 of us, all running solid routes, all trucks paid for. Amazing what you can do with your money when it's not being bled dry by people who see you as an ATM with legs. I couldn't keep the old house, though, too many ghosts, and I don't mean the four-legged kind. I found a smaller place near my truck yard instead. Got a big fenced yard where Rex can run, a garage where I can work on my trucks in peace, and most importantly, no drama walking through the door every night. People keep asking me about them. Guess everyone loves a good train wreck, right? Lydia ended up moving in with her hero brother Greg. Funny how his heroic spirit dried up when she actually needed help. Last I heard, she's answering phones at some law office. Turns out just a trucker wasn't such a bad provider after all. Caleb's working at his uncle's garage now. College wasn't so appealing once Daddy's money stopped flowing. Kind of ironic, the kid who thought manual labor was beneath him is now welding for a living. Life's got a sense of humor, I'll give it that. And Emma. That fairy tale wedding crashed and burned. Trust fund Tyler's family had some concerns about their precious son marrying into a family with questionable values. Their words, not mine. They offered to bankroll a smaller ceremony, but the princess wouldn't have it. She's slinging plates at some chain restaurant now, living back with Lydia. That Tiffany's bracelet I bought for her birthday? I sold it and got Rex an orthopedic bed instead. Best trade I ever made. The messages still come sometimes. Lydia's essays about how I destroyed the family. It goes straight to Vince's evidence folder. Emma tried the I miss you dad routine on my birthday. You were never my dad, I thought, deleting her message. Funny how that word only matters when they need something. Caleb, radio silence, good. You know what's weird, though? I don't feel anything for them anymore. No hate, no love, just nothing. But life keeps rolling. The fleet's growing. Got good people working with me who actually respect what we do. Got a date next week, too. She owns a bakery on one of my regular routes. She's got her own business, her own life, and get this. She actually thinks what I do is something to be proud of. Rex gave her the paw of approval, which is really all the review I need. And you know what? After all this, I realize something important. Being a provider doesn't make you a father. And being a father doesn't mean being a doormat. Sometimes the family you think you're building is just a house of cards, and sometimes Rex just dropped his ball in my lap for the 100th time. The only family you need is the one that's been lying at your feet all along. Rex is giving me that look now. The one that says, "Enough with the heavy stuff, Dad, let's play." I think I'll take his advice. I reclaimed my life, but their betrayal lingers. A scar that fuels my drive. A reminder of the cost of trust.